Hey you guys, I am super excited to share today's video with you guys, which is all about which muscles you should actually be using when you're riding. A lot of times we aren't really sure actually what muscles we should use when our trainer tells us to engage our core or to put our leg on. What muscle should you be using? So today we're working with Stephanie Seheult. She's a physical therapist that specializes in riders. She's going to tell us exactly what muscles we should use when we think about using our core or putting our legs on in the saddle. So be sure to give this video a thumbs up. Click the subscribe and the bell button so that you get a notification when I post a new video every week. Also, check out in the description, I have a free mini course on rider position, which will be super helpful if you're struggling with your position. And without further ado, let's get to the video.
Hey everyone, I am Stephanie Seheult. I'm a doctor of physical therapy and I specialize in working with equestrians. And today on Amelia, we've drawn a couple really key muscle groups to help with your security in the saddle. A lot of riders don't really know a couple things. What their core is, B, which parts of their core they should be using in the saddle to make them really secure when they're sitting. So I'm going to show you guys a couple of the muscles. So here I've drawn Amelia's pelvis bone right here, just the arch of it, and then her femur bone here. And the muscle that you see lying in between those two, that's the shape of a fan, that's her glute med muscle. Now, if you guys have watched a lot of the videos from Amelia and we talk about the glute med muscle a lot because that muscle is what controls our stability in the saddle side to side. Now, raise your arm up again, and then this muscle here is the transverse abdominal muscle. So it's attached here to the front by fascia to your rectus abdominis, which is your six-pack muscles. So the transverse abdominals, there's fascia here, the muscle, and then there's fascia in the back that wraps around to your spine. Now the cool thing between the transverse abdominal muscle and the glute med muscle is that they're pretty closely related. So as you can see here, there's some white fascia that I've drawn here that attaches to the pelvis, and the glute med muscle also has some fascia here that attaches to the pelvis. So they're very closely tied together and have a similar attachment. Now, when the glute med muscle is working really well, so when you're stable side to side, it actually allows you to use your transverse abdominal muscle better and stabilize you up more. Now, a lot of people think that when their trainer says use their core, they're supposed to contract their six-pack muscle here, which is actually incorrect, because if you contract that muscle, it pulls you forward here instead of lifting up. So the transverse abdominal muscle here is really in charge of lifting up. So when you have these two working together, it really helps you be more secure in the saddle, sit upright, and then feel a little bit deeper in your seat. So let's talk about the glute med muscle in relationship to glute max muscle. Now, I didn't draw the glute max muscle, but I'll lay my hand kind of where it goes. So the glute max muscle lies right here, kind of from the back of the pelvis across here to the femur bone, and it does sit over the glute med muscle. Now, a lot of riders think that they should be using the glute max muscle to ride. However, what happens is the glute max muscle works along with the six-pack muscle here, and when you squeeze the glute max, it kind of clenches your bottom and then facilitates you rolling forward and squeezing your buttocks together. So also what happens is that if this is working, so you want to demonstrate that position. So yep, there you go. So when this works too much, then your abs work too much, and then that can actually create the inner thigh muscle to work too much. Now with the inner thigh muscle, we actually want it to work a little bit, but not overwork to allow for this muscle, the glute med, to work. So here Amelia is riding and she's using all her muscles correctly. You see her lifting really good in her transverse abdominals. Her glute med muscle is being used to stabilize her side to side. Now Amelia, go ahead and use your six pack too much. So now she's using her six pack too much and clenching down. And then go ahead and use your glutes. So there she's popping out of the saddle. And then can you use your glutes and your six pack too much? There you go. So now she's really popping out of the saddle. So go back to where you're using glute med and transverse abdominals, and it helps you lift up out of the saddle a lot better. It actually relaxes the hips. You have more mobility because of the transverse abdominals going all the way from the pelvis and different fibers across to the spine. And then Amelia, can you now grip with your knees too much? So when you grip with your knees too much, it actually pitches you a lot more forward and then doesn't allow for enough movement to come through your hip and your abdominals. And it actually shuts down the glute med muscle because they're opposite muscles. And there she goes back to not gripping. Good.
Alrighty guys, I really hoped that you enjoyed that video. As you can see, Stephanie is amazing. Stephanie and I did a masterclass on dressage rider position, so if you're interested, check it out in the link below. Also, leave a comment, let me know if this was helpful, for you guys to see which muscles to use and what your biggest takeaway was. Thanks again for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you in another video next Wednesday.